want to talk about another one of the 4 agreements, and this is to be impeccable with your word. So what is this agreement talking about, and how can we utilize this really cool agreement to change and transform who we are as a person, and how to make it one of these very impactful tools in our toolkit in terms of manifesting the life that we've always dreamed about. So what it means to be impeccable with your word. There's so many different esoteric and religious connotations in terms of the power of the spoken word. And I've talked about this in other episodes, but just how powerful the dialogue that we have and this ability for us to articulate our thoughts and feelings through the mechanism of language to others, okay? And also the feedback loop that we have built into our human psyche. So it is really, really cool when you think about it that we have the mechanism of the ego. So this ego mind, this egoic mind, is kind of continually parroting back to us within our head in sort of a third person dialogue what's actually going out. And it's like having yourself and another in your head, kind of this dichotomy of sorting out how we want consciousness to out manifest and who and what we want to be. And the ego, it does challenge us. It's not really necessarily a bad thing, okay? If you can utilize it for its benefits and its mirroring effect, you can really, really start to see what your triggers are. Some of these things that you can correct in terms of your own distortions are very much mirrored back to you through the mechanism of the ego. So again, I am not one of these teachers that feels that the ego has no spiritual value or that it's something that we need to completely remove, because again, I do believe that the ego and that egoic mind, that feedback loop, was put in place for us here on planet Earth for a very specific and very poignant purpose, okay? So back to the agreement about being impeccable with your word. Now, what does this mean? This means that using the power of your word, so your spoken word and the internal word, but let's first talk a little bit about the spoken word. So everything that you say, absolutely everything, all of the dialogue that you're bringing forth through this vibration, because again, the word is vibration. And remember that vibration affects the quantum field. So there are words that calibrate and that ripple out more beautiful manifestations in terms of the quantum field than other words. We can also see this, and we can see it very clearly through the amazing experiments that have been done with water, and what we can see actually crystallizing within the water itself due to the spoken word. And when we use words that are highly beautiful, highly inspirational, that vibration of those words that we know are loving, that are compassionate, that are kind, even when the difference between saying the word love and the word hate is a very jagged word, love is a very soft word. It just has a different vibrational frequency. So when we understand this, we get to really deeply entrain within ourselves the power of the word. We can start to utilize it to create magic within our own world. So first of all, to be absolutely impeccable with your word, you have to do a process, or you have to begin a process of really identifying what your words actually are. Because even for myself, when I was in a fairly unawakened state, I would just talk and not really necessarily be paying close attention to what I was saying, okay? It wasn't that I was doing it in a negative way. Remember the great teaching, they know not what they do, okay? So when I was in this more asleep state, I wasn't maliciously trying to utilize the word in a negative way. I just wasn't conscious that it had any effect on my life and that it really had any effect on others. Essentially, the point I am trying to get to with this is that the higher your verbal dialogue is. So the more positively calibrated and beautifully you are using your words to try to affect the quantum field or the collective, the more powerful those words actually are when they're positively polarized. Now, like I said in the example previously with Hitler, you can also use the word in a very, very negative way, and it still has a lot of power behind it. But in all creation, the positive output or the positive calibration of the word will always trump that of the negative polarity, that of the negative output. Because again, anything that is the utilization of the word to destroy or tear down eventually just becomes nothingness, because its purpose is to destroy. So when the purpose of it is destruction, destruction will happen, and eventually, when the entire forest is burned down, there is no more forest to burn. Whereby, if we are thinking in terms of creation, when we are in that expanded, beautiful, loving state, the purpose is to build up and to create greater and greater manifestations of creation. So that is an expansion, and therefore it is more powerful use of the word. Okay, so again, back to this example of, Jesus or somebody like Gandhi, when they were utilizing the power of positivity in their word, you're seeing great things happen in the environment, things that are almost unimaginable, what we would akin to miraculous or the miracle. So miracle mindedness. The more positively calibration we can utilize our word, or being impeccable with our words, the more miraculous things we're going to see out manifesting in our reality. Now, let's talk a little bit so that this video doesn't become, a rambling on or a runaway train. I want this to be as quick and simple and easy for you to digest and integrate into your lifestyle as possible. There's also the internal word. So those are the things that you think everybody else can't hear, okay? What you are saying internally. That is also super powerful. So this is kind of your dialogue with your ego. Or, if you are seeing some of those distorted thought forms crop up, like jealousy, service to self, sort of a greedy mentality, a desire to sort of hoard things just for yourself, or to judge others, to have hatred, any of these really distorted thought forms, if you're talking about them in terms of your internal dialogue, or if you're having a very low self-esteem type of dialogue within yourself where you are projecting sort of a self-hatred, these again are very, very negative uses of dialogue, and they need to be eradicated. So part of the purpose of your journey here to Earth is to learn how to have that conscious dialogue that is internal become impeccable as well. So everything that is, an offspring of yourself in the manifested world that you're out speaking, we want that to become impeccable. And then everything that is inside, because again, this is a very internal journey. It is a journey of oneness with self. We want to also ensure that the spoken word or that dialogue inside is also very impeccable and very beautiful. The way you speak about yourself, the way that you love yourself and are prideful with who and what you are, and the way that you see and articulate others within your mind, body, spirit complex, you also need to really entrain yourself to a positive output in terms of that dialogue. So that is part of the teaching of how to be exceptionally impeccable with your word. And hopefully you will find that this really helps you in terms of manifesting a really beautiful, safe, and magical existence for yourself. I know for myself, it's always a work in progress. I'm not suggesting that just because I'm teaching these principles that I am perfect at them, but they are definitely things that I think about and I work on each and every day. And this is why I'm sharing them with you, is that hopefully there's something about these principles that will help catalyze a certain transformation in yourself and in the world that you're seeing and the experience that you're having here on planet Earth. Very malicious with their words when they're specifically utilizing the power of the word to hurt others or to bully others or make other people feel small. Another I guess expression of this could be sort of dark sarcasm, where there is a hidden underlying mode of nastiness to the way that things are spoken. There's also the intentionality or the emotion behind a word, because again, you can say very nice words, but if your tonality has a sarcasm to it or has a vibratory complex that isn't soft or calibrating in a way that is meant to be loving, that's also misuse of the word, okay, or misuse of your dialogue, your language. So to be impeccable with your word means to always be presenting oneself in a very authentic way and a very loving, gentle, compassionate way. So every time you are speaking to somebody, even if that somebody that you are speaking to is frustrating you, you can always use a soft version of the word. You can always take the time to slowly and gently explain your position to them. This is a form of non-violent communication. You can be very gentle, even if you are, at some level not happy with the way that the other person is presenting to you, or if they're not really being the highest version of themselves. You can always be impeccable with your word, meaning that also you are teaching via the proper utilization of the word. You're teaching gentleness, you're teaching compassion. Again, I've spoken about Gandhi before in these episodes, and just how gentle his approach was and how articulately he used the word. Now, many great leaders, the individuals that have gone down as legends throughout history, very accurately and adeptly understood the power of the word. And I'm going to use a few examples here. So individuals like Hitler, okay, or any Napoleon, they definitely knew how to galvanize the masses with the power of the word. And they were very, very articulate at doing this. They understood that by utilizing emotion and extreme power behind the spoken word, they could essentially mesmerize crowds of people and manipulate people into doing their bidding just through the power and the ferocity of the spoken word. Because again, when the word is utilized in a certain way, it has a very magnetic force. It reaches deep into the core of who we are. When we hear the spoken word and there's something really powerful behind the speaker and the vibration that they're putting out, we start to, again, entrain ourselves to their frequency. It has a frequency, so we're letting out that power of the word. And this is why it is so important to be diligent and impeccable in each and every moment with the word that you're speaking, because again, it has power to it. It has a magnetism that teaches others or entrains others to be a certain way. So again, the more powerfully calibrated the things that we say are towards the love and the light, that is going to be the highest delineation of how we can utilize the word. That is the power, quite literally, of creation. Because again, there's so many stories where we talk about the fact that the world was spoken into being. Now, some people may say that that is a metaphor. To some degree, yes, on a certain level it is, but it is consciousness that creates the world that we see. So the spoken word is extremely powerful. That which we are saying through the mechanism of our bodies, or, the being that we're in. And as human beings, we have the most diverse use of language on the planet. I would argue that many other species do use language as well, and they communicate with each other, but they don't have the range of language that human beings have been given. So we have been given a very, very powerful attribute of the spoken word and many different languages in which to articulate our thought forms and essentially teach and guide each other, or put each other into our entrainment, or what we're trying to out manifest through the word. tonality, we hear a lot about it in terms of actually the sales industry. So how to be a really great salesperson is all about tonality. Again, having a certain magnetism to your words pulls people in, and also an excitement to your words. So not only the tone of your voice, so that vibration, the vibratory complex that you are out expressing, but also the energy and the excitement. So there's a very huge difference. And I talked to my sales team about this, when we're working in sales, but there's a difference between saying, hey, do you want to go for a walk today? And hey, do you want to go for a walk today? It's going to be so super fun. There is a really measurable difference between both. And human beings are going to want to tend to magnetize or pull themselves towards whatever is really showing excitement or a lot of energy, because remember, energy is a magnetic force that pulls people in. So when you have a magnetism about your words or with your tonalities, that's what really pulls other beings towards you and towards your energy. And this is very much what individuals like Hitler utilize to really propel their message, is this element of excitement paired with, and again, that excitement that you utilize in the word paired with tonality, because remember, the tonality or the octaves that we utilize within our voice really portray a symphony of emotions. So you can really take a human being, or the masses of human beings, if they are gathering around you in terms of a speech, you can take them up and down and twist them around in terms of their emotions just by utilizing the power of the word. The way that you pronunciate certain, little nuances in your speech really magnetizes individuals towards you. So again, being impeccable with the word is one of the things, or with your word, is one of the things that I guarantee will really help you in terms of your manifestation process and really creating that dream life that you've always wanted to see or experience in this lifetime. But again, it's multiple pieces of things that you have to bring together, the culmination of all of these wisdom teachings that are really going to create the best, most magnetic version of self possible. So again, hope you all have a wonderful week. Hopefully this was some interesting information that you can easily integrate into your life. If you are having any sort of distortions in how you are utilizing the words, so any of those negative thought forms, really pay attention to them and try to turn them around as quickly as possible, turning them into a positive calibration, because again, remember, the most miraculous always happens when we are correlating to that positive polarity. And remember, the internal use of the word needs to be beautiful, bright, and expansive, and the external use of the word also has to be beautiful, bright, and expansive, and having a loving, compassionate calibration for yourself and all others.